When I went to film school, there weren't many writers there as students. They were mostly directors who wrote their own material. I mean, obviously, as a writer, you think there are two distinct jobs there. I still think there are two distinct jobs there, not to say that some writers don't direct their work very well, or the other way around.
Hello? Is there anybody there?
Yes, madam.
I was wondering if there was anyone there who could advise me about protection.
Mrs. Pickard?
Yes. Please, come in. You don't look like a private detective.
What do I look like?
You look a bit like a weatherman. But perhaps that's an essential for the job. Please, may I take your coat? Your jacket?
No, I'll keep that on, thanks.
Won't you sit down? I've never consulted a private detective before.
Is that your little boy?
Yes. He's at a friend's. My husband's picking him up later.
I'm not here to catch you out on your childcare arrangements, Mrs. Pickard. Now, why don't you start at the beginning?
Well, it all began with this letter. I've got hundreds of them upstairs if you wanted to examine one. Anyway, it seems a long time ago now.
My life was such a gay thing. You took my heart and you used it for a plaything. But what can I do? I'm madly in love with you. Your every wish, if only you command it, I must obey. It's hard to understand it, yet what can I do? I'm madly in love with you. And still if I should leave you, I'd go insane. I'd lose my mind completely. 'Cause if you'd smile so sweetly, I'd hurry back to your arms. make me cry, and you feel in your glory. A fool am I, it's just the same old story. But what can I do? I'm madly in love with you.
We're escaping now.
Hello, darling. Sorry I'm late.
Lee! No, didn't recognize you for a moment.
It's well known women change their physical appearance after they have a baby. They become different people. Our brains decay as well. I'm sure you psychs have got a word for it.
Glorious motherhood, I'd say. See you later.
We thought we'd bring a picnic.
You've got exactly 6.5 minutes. That's if the bleeper doesn't go off first. Are you wearing lipstick?
It's not for you. It's for the kind strangers who helped me with Oscar's buggy. Traveling through the city gets worse every day.
Remember that when you think you might want to start work again.
By the way, this came for you. So, what was the
Sorry, darling. Gotta go.
But you can't...
Darling, someone's dying. See you later.
You'll never believe how many new wedding cake icings have come onto the market. Must be a sign of the times.
What's in the ovens?
Meringues and toppings. We're doing a feature called Heavenly Peaks. Do you reckon the timings will be delicate?
I'm sorry. I keep forgetting I'm not in charge anymore. You look wonderful, Masha. So do you. I don't sleep, and all my clothes have milk fatigue. I'm allowed to look like this.
Oh, this is Rudy, our new assistant. Hello. She's got some great ideas for survey features, almost as good as yours. Lee was the best. Remember sex in a single duvet and all the fuss it caused? Well, Rudy's just finished an article called Staying Alive, How to Have Sex and Live to Tell the Tale.
Oh, my God, single life sounds grim these days.
Depends how you look at it. So, your husband doesn't help you very much.
Well, he cheats at night. He steals sleep from me. He's very greedy about it. He learned when he was a student doctor. In the morning, he says innocently, "Oh, was it my turn?"
Well, you knew the statistics. You compiled them, after all. Yeah. 88% of marriages suffer stress with the birth of the first child. Remember the famous 94% of men spend more on their bicycles than on their wives? So, who do you think the other woman is?
There is no other woman.
Well, why don't you open one of the letters?
Absolutely not. I'm not going to play those sort of games. Nick and I are two sensible adults. If there's anything to tell me, he'll tell me. Oh. Hello, 2815. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello? Hello?
I think I've got to call the police.
Don't be so ridiculous.
The phone calls were every hour today, at exactly 7 minutes past the hour. It has to be one of those burglar syndicates ringing in case I'm out.
So, go to sleep. You're imagining things.
Hello? Do you think you might answer? I mean, this is the 10th time today. If you were to tell me I was becoming irritatingly fastidious, I might just agree with you. Yes!
Is Nicholas at home, please?
No. No, I'm afraid Dr. Pickard isn't here at the moment. Can I take a message?
No, I don't think so. When will he be back?
I don't know.
You don't know?
He works all hours. He is a doctor.
Torquay. We were wondering if you'd like some flowers in your room for this evening.
The Ambassador's Hotel? I'm afraid you must have a wrong number.
Dr. and Mrs. Pickard, we are expecting you.
Perhaps my husband's planning a surprise.
You made the booking, Mrs. Pickard. I'd remind you, we have a 50% cancellation charge.
I see.
Would you like some flowers, Mrs. Pickard? We do a lovely bouquet or basket.
A bouquet? No, a basket. Let's make that 5 baskets. Is that you?
Who did you think it was? Christ, you haven't been fantasizing about burglars again, have you? Have you?
I didn't think you were someone else. I just wasn't expecting you to be here.
Well, I'm sorry I'm late. I did phone.
I didn't answer.
Well, there you are, then. What on earth's the matter? Where did you expect me to be?
The Ambassador's Hotel, Torquay.
Tell me who she is, Nick. I've got to know.
Her name is Julia Almendros. She was an outpatient at St. James's when I did my student rotation. She's in a therapy group, done a bit of shoplifting.
And that's how it started.
Nothing started. Julia Almendros is a sick woman. She has de Clerambault's syndrome.
What?
De Clerambault's syndrome is a rare psychotic obsession. Its victims form a deep and permanent attachment to someone.
You're making this up.
I'm deadly serious. And you'd better believe this. They form this ludicrous obsession with absolutely no encouragement whatsoever.
And?
My rotation finished that Christmas. We had a party. At the end of it, I noticed this pile of parcels. I was very touched. I opened them, and there were all these coffee makers and kettles. They were engagement presents. Julia, Mrs. Almendros had told the group we were getting married. Given them a date and everything.
And they believed her.
She'd booked the town hall for the reception. Ordered the wedding cake.
You're making this illness up, this...
De Clerambault's. I'd never even spoken to her, then suddenly we were engaged. I mean, is it likely? I promise you, she didn't exist before the kettles.
Why didn't you try and sort it out with her?
I did try. She thought I was talking in code. People who have de Clerambault's see signs.
I can't believe this.
It's true. The clothes they wear, which hand they carry the briefcase in. They see these things as signals that the love object really cares. What's so funny?
I've just never thought of you as a love object. That's all. Why on earth didn't you tell me? You must have known I was imagining all sorts of things.
I didn't want to believe that she'd come back again to haunt me. She made my life a total misery. Clogged the hospital switchboard, camped on my doorstep. I went off on holiday to Greece. When I got back, I moved hospitals. And that was the end of it. Or so I thought.
She doesn't look like a woman with a grand passion, does she?
I was just not entitled to her feelings. It's not doing any harm. And she is ill, remember.
Poor thing. It must be awful for her.
That's about all we have on psychosexual, emotional problems, aberrations, and perversities. Some very weird things here. Darling, can I put you down? You just sit there. Okay? Okay, you play there.
Almendros is a very romantic name.
There's nothing here about the Colombos. I'll have to go to the reference library.
Nick's so handsome. It's not unknown to fall in love with your doctor. After all, you did.
He wasn't my doctor.
I told you it might lead to trouble in the long run.
No, you didn't. You said how useful it would be to have one about the house.
Hey, you thinking what I'm thinking?
What shall we call it?
Jealousy within the marriage. No, something like that.
I am not jealous of Julia Almendros. I don't want to be mean, but she's not exactly a femme fatale.
When your husband falls for an older woman.
Oh, Masha!
Oh, come on, Lee. Where's your sense of humour? Remember that quiz we did on adultery? Who's cheating who on whom?
The one we made absolutely sure you couldn't cheat the answers to. You can always cheat the answers.
Are you ever tempted to open your husband's mail by mistake? A, not at all.
Never. B, occasionally, if the need arises. And C, only if the postman delivers more than 200 scented envelopes in 1 week.
Is Nicholas in?
No. I'm afraid Dr. Pickard isn't here at the moment. Can I help you?
I wanted to leave this for you. Good afternoon.
Mrs. Almendros? It is Mrs. Almendros, isn't it? He probably won't read it, you know.
Oh, I know he won't. Of course not. My dear Nicholas, I received your message that we cannot meet openly. I had to let you know that my great love for you has not faded 1 single decibel. I think of you every minute, and I want to kiss you. I want to kiss you 1,000 times. I want to feel your sweet body next to mine, your flesh with my flesh.
So neither of you two highly qualified doctors can tell me anything more about the Carrier syndrome.
Not in terms you'd understand. Sorry. These schizoid tendencies are very difficult to qualify. Actually, we don't know all that much about the human brain. We just pretend. Paranoid schizophrenia.
Delusional hallucinations. Yes, I've read all that. You forgot to mention it's incurable.
One woman fell in love with a newsreader. used to think the bulletins were in code.
Can I do anything?
You can go and get the wine.
So she thought any mention of Beirut meant meet me after work. And Pentagon sources meant I adore you. So for all we know, she's still sitting in front of the television.
It's not funny. Not for her.
This case sounds interesting, though. I'm surprised you hadn't mentioned it before.
The story I can exactly dine out on.
Sounds hilarious to me.
The trouble is... One's very sympathetic, of course, but there's not very much one can do.
You can get the salad for a start.
Sorry, darling.
Jonathan.
Lovely.
Problem is, however much one knows one's to blame, people can't help thinking that what Lee thinks.
Surprisingly, although she has given birth, Lee still has full command of her vocal cords. And Lee thinks that we are in some way, well, responsible for Julia and her awful illness.
If you want my expert opinion, you shouldn't try to do anything. Just leave it alone. I mean, after all, it's not as if...
What?
Well, don't get me wrong here, but lots of women fixate on men. It's not uncommon. And a good thing, too. And that was a joke.
Xavier. You haven't been bothering Xavier. It's a senior consultant.
Much good it did me. Us. He wouldn't even speak to me about Julia. Confidential information. Did you know she had her very own social worker?
You didn't leave your name.
Yes.
Great. I have to work here. That woman is not going to ruin my career.
I had to try. No wonder Julia's getting worse.
Listen to me. Julia's madness is her own private party. If you pay attention to her, you flatter it. You make it grow. Now just ignore her. She's not my problem.
No, she's my problem. Like all my other domestic problems. Like calling the plumber or getting the car serviced. I'm not expected to understand, but I have to deal with her. You don't have to feel the strength of her misguided passion burning a hole through the door. And what about Oscar?
Oscar?
You don't mind that the world thinks he's illegitimate.
What?
Julia told the 2 o'clock club that we weren't really married. I'm glad you think it's so bloody funny.
But what if we weren't married? And Oscar was, you know. But what would it matter? Lee! Lee! Come back!
Nicholas, it's been such a long time.
Just emptying the rubbish.
I understand we've got to whisper, because she might be listening.
Do you think you could let go of my dustbin?
I know how you're feeling.
Look, I'm not having this conversation with you. I'm going to go back into the house. You're going to go home to your husband and children and... Morning! And we'll all be happy, won't we?
You're upset seeing me.
I'm not upset.
We could meet in our secret place.
What? We have no secret place.
I could bring our son. Don't you want to see what he looks like?
We don't have a son. To have had a son, we would have had to have sexual intercourse. And that... And that's not possible because I loathe the very ground you walk on. Don't you understand that? I am completely indifferent to you.
It's frustrating, I know, but we'll soon be together. She will go, and then we'll be together forever.
You do the wheel. You go do the wheel then. And I'll do this wheel. Property, you know.
I have an important message for Nicholas.
Dr. Pickard isn't here. You can give that to me.
It's a secret. It's a secret between him and me. You can't keep us apart!
Oh, my God!
Oscar!
I'm so sorry.
Perfectly all right.
You're soaked. Won't you come in and dry out?
No, it's all right. I'll dry off in a moment.
Please.
Delivery, Pickard.
There must be some mistake.
This is to Hertfordshire Mews.
Mrs. Almendrell's is almost perfect compared to some of the things that I've seen. Her house is impeccably clean. Her children don't have a mark on them. I visit her once a fortnight. She makes me tea and she gives me chocolate biscuits. It's a waste of my time and the state's money, if you ask me.
Let me tell you what sort of a small problem Julia is. 57 phone calls since Sunday. We're ex-directory. 15 packages by parcel post. 20 calls rerouted from the hospital. And this morning, an invitation to my funeral. Perhaps you'd like to come.
Have you ever thought how much money Julia spends to support her habit?
I know you think I should be more understanding. And I know that in the scheme of things, I don't really count. But it's making me ill. And I don't know what to do.
Look, there's only one solution. You go to the police and you slap a restriction order on her to stop harassing you. Okay?
I can.
She won't stop, we know, so when she does it again, you can get them to section her.
Section her? You mean commit her? But that's for
mad people, yeah, that's right. She's completely crackers after all, isn't she?
Well, yes. Yes, she She is.
Yours.
And those sugar monsters.
Yes, all right, there's yours. Hello? It's Mrs. Pickard, isn't it? I thought it was. This is my husband. Hello.
How do you do?
And these are my children.
They're beautiful.
We're proud of them. Still, we must be getting on. So little time for family things, isn't there?
Come on.
Hello. Sergeant Mayhew, please. This is Mrs. Pickard. I'm very sorry. I've been thinking about the matter I reported to you. Yes. I'm sorry. I know it's a bit of a waste of your time, but I don't wish to pursue the matter. No. I've thought about it, and I don't want to take it any further. Bye.
Nothing for 3 weeks now.
Told you all we had to do was be firm.
No. It's like she knew we were getting close. Like an animal sensing real danger. Still. I don't care why. Thank God she's gone. Let's do something.
What?
I don't know. What did we do before Julia?
Can't move an entire night shift.
Well, let's go to the pictures this afternoon.
All right. Call the babysitter. Damn.
Okay. Off you go. We'll do it another time.
Do you remember Mr. Scipio? Mr. Scipio? Oh, yes.
O-level Italian. Well, that wonderful summer when we were 16.
Oh.
Didn't he take a fancy to you?
Oh, I just imagined it. He used to park his car with the wheels turned in. You know, didn't bother to straighten them. I used to think he was leaving me a message. I was never quite sure what I thought the message was supposed to be. It didn't matter.
Why didn't you do something about it?
I did. What? I used to send him messages. I used to turn my book jacket inside out and make very bad mistakes in every 7th sentence and wear a blue ribbon on Wednesdays. He must have thought I was completely mad.
Pazze ragazze inglesi.
Oh, weren't we stupid? I don't know. It seemed real enough. You still believe it. All the pleasures of courtship. And none of the disappointments of actually getting together. We've lost that. Crazy English girls.
Are you all right?
I'm gonna kill myself.
Better come inside.
Why don't you just go away? That's what Nick wants.
You know that's not true.
Thank you. Those are lovely.
Yes, they are, aren't they? That's our wedding. Nick's and mine.
Would you like to see ours?
Is this the one you arranged?
Yes. It was beautiful. All golden and silver swans. I know what you're thinking. You think it was very tasteless, don't you?
Of course not. It looks splendid. But you didn't get married, did you?
No. Well, at the last minute, his mother held out against it. Said she'd cut him off. It's always something like that, isn't it?
But didn't it make you hate him? Being humiliated like that?
We just had to wait. Wasn't the end of the world.
All that wasted effort.
Oh, no, it wasn't wasted. You wait until you stay up all night making something for your little boy, a costume for the play at school. Nothing that's done in love is ever wasted.
Julia, I'm going to talk to you very seriously. Love isn't something that just exists, waiting to be clung onto. It's something that grows between people. Julia, look at me! If someone's in love with you, they show it in some way. Now, let's try to be logical. Has Dr. Pickard ever shown you that he cares about you? Has he ever said he loves you?
Has he ever kissed you? Has he ever made love to you?
What's the matter?
How are you thinking of doing it?
What?
Killing yourself. How are you going to do it?
I hadn't decided. Pills, probably. Well, I've got to go. I've got to collect the children. I love him more than you ever could.
Oscar's a little older. Why don't you try coming back to work? Just part-time.
No. Julia has a full-time obsession with my husband, and I have a full-time job dealing with her.
Hello, son.
You know, I said I'd never be jealous of Julia. I am, in a strange way. When she's a very old woman, she's still going to be burning for someone. She's not going to let it go.
It's a bit pathetic, isn't it?
No. She doesn't feel herself to be pathetic, so she isn't. She's going to grow old ungracefully. She's going to let passion blow through her until the day she dies.
Someone's got to see Nick eats well. You don't fucking feed him properly.
Get out of here. Get out!
know what she does, don't you?
People have told me. I know they aren't lying.
Don't you mind at all?
I come home from work and she's here. The children are clean and healthy. Everything's in order.
You might not be able to ignore it for much longer. Julia's beginning to frighten me, Mr. Almendros. I'm really going to have to do something if she doesn't stop.
Your wife's on the phone. Sounds quite urgent.
Tell her I'm busy. I'll try to phone her later.
Okay.
Marcia Johnson, please.
It's your frantic friend. Oh, okay. Lee. Masha, I've got to do something. I can't cope. She's going to harm me and Oscar. I've got to do it this time.
I think you must.
Sergeant Mayhew, you don't understand. She hasn't exactly said, I'm threatening you. But she does.
She does what?
She does threaten me. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Mrs. Almendros has a psychiatric condition.
Well, she doesn't sound very sinister to me. I'm sorry to have to bring this up, but on the 18th of October, brandishing a knife, you screamed abuse at Mrs. Almendros. Previously, you tried to injure her with gardening equipment. And just 2 days ago, 6 o'clock in the evening, you drove your car at her in a reckless manner.
You've got things written down about me.
You did make the initial complaint, madam. We do have witnesses for each of these incidents.
What's she doing here?
We do try to get people together, madam. What did you expect us to do? Break down her door with a sledgehammer and carry her off in a straitjacket? This is the 20th century. Now, let's not get too dramatic about this.
But you don't understand.
I'll tell you what I think, madam. I think that a row between you ladies can sometimes get out of all proportion. So why don't we make it up over a cup of tea? I won't say that you've already wasted police time, Mrs. Pickard. If you won't take our advice... Oh, thank you very much.
Will we be long? Only I've got to pick the children up from school soon.
Again, give me a chance
Missed your chance, didn't you? I think I ought to let you know that if you're determined not to leave, I'm thinking of ways to make you go.
Julia will never, ever get better. This nightmare will never change. It can only get worse. It's so hot in here. Are you sure I can't take your jacket? I'm so tired. I just need a little help. You see, my husband is no use at all.
I might know someone who could frighten this woman. Just a little.
Frighten her?
Might you be interested in that?
Nothing frightens Julia. Yes, I would like that. I would. Because she frightens me. Just a tiny bit.
I was afraid you might say that, Mrs. Pickard.
What? You see, I knew you must be hot. What are you doing?
Can you hear me, Mrs. Pickard? Because I've got something very important to say to you.
What do you want me to do?
I have to tell you that the sort of thing you have in mind is definitely against the law. I know what I'm talking about. I used to be a policeman. Most of us did. Now, this.
Frighten her. Yes, I would like that. I would. Because she frightens me.
This can be called conspiracy to commit an assault. A jury might be persuaded that it means conspiracy to murder.
Oh, my God. But I didn't say, I didn't mean that.
You can go to prison for that for a very long time.
Prison? Oh, no, you wouldn't.
I'm going to do you a favor. I won't tell anyone about this. You better promise me you'll think very carefully about this in future. I'll get my own coat.
Almendros. Over here. I'm glad you could make it.
Had to do my shopping somewhere. I bought some socks for the children. Nice, aren't they?
I didn't think you'd come. You know, Julia, I asked you to come here to try to frighten you.
This is one of the few places to have a china tea set. Not real china. Not bone china. Frighten me? An extraordinary idea.
Yes. I've been sitting here realizing what a stupid idea that was. You see, I have this picture in my mind. We're both very old women, sitting on a park bench, or in a tea room like this, hitting each other, yelling at each other. We might have forgotten what it is we're fighting about. Nick might even be dead. But I promise you, listen to me. Listen to me, Julia. I will be there.
Are you sure your marriage is worth defending?
No. I'm not sure. But I'm not going to roll over just for you. I'm getting better at it, believe it or not. You've been very clever. But next time I'll be prepared for anything. They look just like us, don't they? Do you think they know our secret?
I'm not going to go away.
Funny, isn't it? Can you imagine Nelson and Napoleon sitting down discussing a truce in a tea room? We should be in some grand rococo hallway, or in a solitary tent up a hillside somewhere.
A truce?
Your illness.
What illness? I'm not ill. I did have a little cold.
Your illness will go on forever. I'm prepared for that. But you're not going to surprise me again. So, I think we should thrash out some ground rules, don't you?
What do you suggest?
First, no children. Keep them out of it. Not yours or mine. Agreed?
Maybe.
And definitely no weekends. However much you may be tempted. We'll keep this on a strict 9 to 5, Monday to Friday basis, yes?
Possibly.
And that's all for now.
You can get me to agree to these conditions now. But how do you know I'll keep my word?
I don't. We'll just have to wait and see, won't we? But for the moment, let's have another pot of tea, shall we?